remiss, I love it. Almost everybody here, right?
Well, and the name of your farm is Wheat Row Farms.
You're in Bakersfield? Oh, yours.
And then Ujama.
Yes.
Absolute, and the task force.
This is the
Equity
task force.
Yes. A lot of intersecting circles. So,
Wonderful. This is exciting.
and your grant? Did you? Okay.
Where'd you learn?
I know, I love that. Please do share. Yeah, the 1.2.
Anywhere, yeah, anywhere you like that. Where's that located? Where's that church at?
We're expecting about 14, and they'll come in, but we can start. What's your name?
I'm Yesenia.
Yesenia?
Yes.
Marissa.
Nice to meet you.
Anywhere you'd like to sit. Anywhere.
I know it's nice. First it's like it's transparent, but like
Yes, it does.
Testing, 1, 2. Thank you. Hi, sweetheart. Good to see you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Compassion Christian Center, good morning, located at 1034th Street in Bakersfield, California. I'm Evelyn Young-Spath. Honey, thank you, baby. That's my sweetheart, Brian. He says she calls me that this morning, but I'm Evelyn Young-Spath, owner and operator of Amor Backyard Farm and founder of the Kern County Black Farmers Association. I am a new appointee to the board of directors of the Community Alliance with Family Farms, and thank you. Thank you. And I forget to mention that I'm also a new appointee to the Farm Service Agency here in Bakersfield. I'm the new minority advisor here for FSA. So, yes. And it's important for us to serve on boards and to be in places where policies are being made, decisions are being made, so that our voices are heard. And this morning, I'm so honored to welcome the Strategic Growth Council, who is here. Yes. And the task force, it's the California Agricultural Lands Equity Task Force. That is a mouthful, y'all. And they are here for a listening session. They're holding these sessions all across the country, up and down the state, forgive me, I'm thinking big. Up and down the state so that they can hear firsthand from small farmers, underrepresented farmers, and tribal nations who have had challenges and obstacles to access and maintenance of land. Good morning, Jason. Good to have you here. And so we got a call last week. Can you facilitate a meeting in Bakersfield for next week? And so that was today, and I said, sure, no problem. I got peeps. I got people. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Tessa Saltzman and Nelson Hawkins of the Equity Task Force and Doria Robinson of the task force. And I want to thank Pastor Marissa Banks, Pastor Roland Banks for hosting us here at Compassion Christian Center. Tessa, it's all yours.
All right, good day. Greetings, everybody. I want to start out by expressing my gratitude to everybody who showed up today. You could literally be anywhere else doing anything right now, but you chose to be here today to be a part of this important conversation. And as a land steward, I know, we might be in the thick of the season right now, so it's even more, I just want to express my gratitude even more that you took time today to show up and to express your experiences and to get your voices heard directly with us in this intimate conversation. To introduce myself, first, I'm a human being. Let's start with that. As a land steward, we wear multiple hats, but first and foremost, I am a son, I'm a brother, I am a husband, I'm a father. I wear many hats. One of those hats is a farmer founder of We Grow Farms. We cultivate seasonal, diversified, organic, culturally preferred, and relevant produce in the Sacramento region, and we use agroecological methods to do so. We support access to our produce to local communities and strengthen their relationship to land. So that's one hat I wear. We currently cultivate on about 2 acres, small scale, but for me, that's big, so appreciate the encouragement. Another hat that I wear is I'm the co-founder and co-executive director of Ujamaa Farmer Collective. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that exists to fulfill the mission to support access to resources for the success of Black farmers, specifically in the greater Sacramento, California region. We're just getting everything built and started. We've existed for a couple years. If anybody's interested in tapping in on that, then I can make time afterwards. But today, I am showing up today here wearing the hat as the elected chair of the California Agricultural Land Equity Task Force. And I look forward to hearing your stories. We're going to go over, where we've been, where the recommendations currently stand in our drafting process, and then really open it up for y'all to express your experiences, challenges, and also successes so that we have a pathway to get to where we need to be and where we want to go. With that said, I always feel like I'm missing something, but I will pass the mic to the great Doria Robinson, and then we'll get into our session today. Thank y'all for being here.
It's always hard to go after Nathaniel. He's so gracious. I wanted to echo what he said just about how grateful I am for everyone who's taken the time to be here in the middle of the height of the season to help us craft these recommendations so that we can make a difference and so we can get it right. So just thank you so much for your time and bringing your whole person here today. I'm Doria Robinson. I'm a third-generation Richmond resident. I live in Richmond, California. I run Urban Tilth, which is a urban agriculture nonprofit in Richmond. We have a 10-acre farm there. I'm also the granddaughter of folks who run a 350-acre ranch in Fairfield, California. That's kind of where I grew up. Am in a church, a part of a whole church community. And so this is just really, really close to my heart, getting this right. Getting this work right. I'm a member of the Land Equity Task Force, but I'm a member who's also a member of the California State Board of Food and Agriculture. So I'm the first urban agriculture representative on that board. It's my second term. And just feel like this is a really important work, important moment, especially because of everything going on in the world. This is a little bit of light. So thank you so much for your time today, and I'm going to hand it over to Tessa so we can get into it.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Doria and Nelson, and Evelyn, for those wonderful introductions. My name is Tessa Salzman, and I also want to echo that gratitude. Like Evelyn mentioned, this happened really quickly. We are really, really grateful for just how animated you were to make this happen and bring your community in here and find us a space, and we're just really grateful. This work is really important. I think Doria and Nelson framed it in the best way possible. We are going all over the state and talking to different communities, and every single conversation we have, we learn a lot, and we do our best to incorporate it back into the work and back into the draft that some of you have in front of you. So I'm Tessa. I do work for the Strategic Growth Council, which is a state agency that was tasked with supporting and facilitating the Agricultural Land Equity Task Force. So I am, an employee of that agency, and my main role is to really support the 13 task force members in their work. And so that looks like a lot of different things, from facilitation to, kind of workshopping ideas and threading them all together and figuring out what this draft report can look like. Lots of facilitation and community and other work. As far as a little bit of my history, other roles that I've played have been outside of this state. I've been a farmer, I've been a community organizer, an advocate, trying to support farmers and farm workers through policy to make their lives easier and to build resilience in communities, both ecological and social. And so I feel really lucky to be in this role and to be kind of one of the shepherds of this work, moving it along. And I think that's all I'll say for now. So as far as the structure of the day of this morning, we have until about 11, and then the three of us will need to go because we're going to Allensworth to have another session, meet some more people. And so until then, we are going to provide a little bit more of an introduction of the task force, and like Nelson mentioned, where we've been, what they've been up to, and then a quick overview of the draft. We can pass more of those copies out if anyone doesn't have one. And then that'll just take like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we really just want to open it up to all of you. We're here to hear from you. We're here to hear your stories, your priorities, any challenges that you will want to share to make sure that they're reflected in this work. So I did get word that someone needs to leave at 9:30. So we are going to start with a round of introductions before I actually do that slide presentation, so you don't just need to sit here and listen to us talk for such a large chunk of time. And I think we will start with Catherine, Mrs. Woo-woo. And we'll give her a moment to introduce herself and share anything she wants to share about the topic, and then we'll do an introductions with everyone else. Thank you so much.
Okay, Okay, my vision. Oh yeah, that I would like in the community. I wrote a book called Collier and the Collard Green Tree right there. Okay, and it talks about the history of collard greens. It talks about where it originated from. It also talks about what it does for us and our body. Very good for our body. So if you ever want to purchase this book, it's $15, which will go toward my vision. And the vision is that I would like to have a farm. I was donated 2 acres of land. And it's called 2 Acres and No Mule. Okay? And the whole idea is to have the children, after the sponsor a raised bed, every child would have their own food to grow. Now, when they do this, we will have a farmer's market. That money they make from the farmer's market, this is the vision, is that money will go into Valley Strong raccoon account so that they will get it when they get ready to go to college. So they have their very own college fund. So that's the dream that I have. And I'm excited because we already have children on board, and we hadn't even moved into the land yet. But in fact, that's where I'm on my way to Holloway Gonzalez Library. And I'm excited about it. And we're going to be doing a puppet show. They're going to actually cook it. They're going to and we're going to have a banquet at the end where they're going to have chicken, collard greens, and mac and cheese. They will receive their award, and from this, the children would take their plants and enter it in to the Kern County Fair. We've done a lot of things with Kern County Fair, and our children were able to, after they got first and second place, we were able to go to the state fair, and that's what we want to do this time around. And we just want to invite our children to be junior farmers and just love who they are. Okay? And before we leave, I want to sing the song, and then I gotta go. You gotta help me sing it though. You gotta repeat after I sing it. Say it, you repeat it. You ready? You're ready. Oh, no, I don't like, y'all don't even look like you're ready. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Collard green. Collard green. Good for you. Good for you. Vitamin A. Vitamin A. C and K. C and K. Iron and calcium. Iron and calcium. Good for you. Very important. So we can cook. I know I enjoyed when I was growing up. Not only did we cook. Okay. It's really important that we give quality time with our children. Teach them those memories they will never ever forget, because they will remember exactly what went on. I'm sure how many of you remember when you cooked with your mother or your grandmother? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, wasn't it fun? Yes, and that's what we want our kids to have, that memory. Okay, and everybody have a good day. I gotta go. No, I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to do a round of introductions. And we'd really just love to know anything that you want to share. We will do a presentation and then we'll have a deeper discussion, and so you don't need to share everything in this first round. But we'd love to know your name, any affiliation or farming that you're doing. We would also love to know what agricultural land equity means to you, or perhaps why you showed up today, why it was, compelling to be here. And we also want to know how you stay cool in the heat. Nelson's looking for tips. So I guess we can pass this mic. Would you like to start us out? Or anyone at this table? Does anyone want to start? No pressure. You can also pass on any of those prompts.
Good morning, all. My name is Terrence Richardson. Sure. My name is Terrence Richardson. I am a Bakersfield native. Actually grew up not too far away from here. Went to both McKinley Elementary and Emerson Junior High, just a couple blocks down the way. One of the things that did trigger me was McKinley Elementary School here again. Had a nature trail, greenhouse, gazebo full of plants, and a large garden that was implemented when I was in, I believe, 3rd grade. So about 4 years, we had the experience. Classes went to the garden, greenhouse, nature trail, and it was extremely educational. Not only that, live not too far away, just a small 6,500 square foot plot of land that my parents still own. I'll be going to see my mom once I leave here today. But my parents always allowed me to grow something there, whether it was a few stalks of corn in the back, strawberries, purple whole pea plants, and usually these seeds didn't come from the grocery store for me. If any of you others are Bakersfield natives, you may remember Al Bracel Ranch out off of Stockdale Highway and I-5. That was a place where we could go. And we were there, it seemed like at least every other week with my parents picking something. It was a pick yourself and save large farm. Not sure what the acreage there was, but seeing that was just extremely inspirational for me. Also, my parents are originally from Texarkana, Texas, where my grandparents owned a bit over 100 acres. You have to excuse me. I always get a little emotional when I think about that land. Evelyn knows. It was something that I only got to read in an obituary, and that land was lost. Early 80s. Anyway, I would like to do my best for my family. Myself personally, I can go out. I'd like to spend most of my time outside, period. I manage home improvement, been with Lowe's, currently with Home Depot. And when I can get outside of the building and the garden area, I'm most comfortable. What do I want? What do I want to grow? We currently live off of Taft Highway in Weibel. It's a quarter of an acre. We are growing now primarily for market farming. That's the idea for me. Now, we may grow in the, maybe considered the suburbs, but it's primarily brought into the inner city for those sales. So since we have the space to do it, I've taken my whole backyard. I don't have anything back there that's considered a luxury at all. We bought the home with no developed backyard, and I turned it into my farm. Just like Sims used to be, I grow a little bit of everything. Anything seasonal, I'm able to grow it. We've conditioned the soil quite a bit. Still working on that. Research from YouTube to ChatGPT and anything that can give me something educational, and then I fact check those things as well and share as much as possible social media wise. So I have had one or two denials from the county for certain things, and those are the things that I really want to get to understand as far as us owning our home, growing, and being able to get yeses for those things in the future. Glad you all are here. Looking forward to hearing from you all as well. It was for home occupational permit. The intent, I was suggested for that permit for canning food. I do enjoy canning quite a bit. And in that conversation with the gentleman, I'm gonna, for lack of better words, he kind of took it to a direction that I was not exactly expecting. He asked how I grow, where I grow. I told him that we're off of Taft Highway in Weibel, and his answer was, it's not zoned for agriculture. You can't grow anything there, and you can't sell anything there. From there on, he was very adamant at, you can't grow anything there, you can't sell anything from there. 1 full year later, 12 months later, I received a email letter that I forwarded to Mrs. Evelyn from Kern County Black Farmers Association. The letter was actually, it felt a little threatening, as if you are still doing this, be kind of prepared for some type of something. Anyway, I'm still doing it, so we'll figure it out. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Spath. I am Evelyn's husband and chief supporter.
I'm Patrick Jackson. I'm the president of the NAACP here. Just in full support of the black farmers and all the farming activity that's going on here. Evelyn and Terrence have sparked my interest in making sure that seeing the deserts and the necessities of us having farms and having access to good food, understanding the deserts and things of that sort that are happening. And so I'm in full support, and also the ideas that they have brought to the table of encouraging others to get involved in farming. In most people's minds, it's always been you have to have all this acreage and all this other type of stuff. But like how Terrence, how he's taken his backyard, however, they've taken small parts of land, and then even saying if you're in an apartment, you know, they're encouraging people to grow something. You know, even if you're in an apartment complex, even if you're in a condo, whatever it is, you have the ability to grow. So I think these efforts of trying to encourage people and to educate people primarily will help more of us in our communities to live healthier lives, longer. And then, you know, we see that foods are not lasting as long. you know, in the grocery stores and things of that sort. We was talking about that with me and my spouse of, you know, you'll buy something, and then it's like, you don't eat it the same day, you're in trouble. And so almost encouraging us to seek out the farmers, seek out other ways and methods that we can grow things ourselves, and also support local businesses that are creating a space for us to be able to have good food on a regular basis and not have all of the you know, pesticides and things of that sort that is associated with foods, because more and more people are getting more educated on the safety of food, understanding the drawbacks that happen with certain foods that you're eating and things of that sort. So I think this next wave of generations and people are becoming a little bit more educated and wanting to know how do we subside a lot of these side effects that ultimately come from foods. That we've been talking to doctors and so forth, everything is pretty much happening in the gut. So farmers are so important as we've kind of gone away from supporting and understanding the importance of them. I think now making farming cool again. I think that's the name of the game. It's kind of been kind of something that people have put to the side, and I think this group of farmers are making farming cool again. So thank you all for your efforts and your abilities to be able to put yourselves on the forefront and show them, hey man, farming is cool. It's not something that's whack. It's something that we should all be embracing and be a part of. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Bush, and I should have sat on this side of Patrick. I forgot what I was going to say, but no, I'm a cannabis operator up north, licensed cannabis operator for 15 years, and we did a monocrop. Now we're going into regular agriculture. We have some properties here in Kern County, also in Madera. And also wear another hat, which is nonprofit, for helping farmers with sustainability and land management. And I'm here to see how I can help and how I can get help.
My name is James McGill. I'm a retired black farmer. I used to farm 320 acres in Wasco, California, the rose capital of the world. And the situation just hit us where we couldn't finance and we couldn't get funds, and that's what put me out of business. So now my parents own 8 acres out here south of Bakersfield, and I raise pigs for a living, and I'm going to continue. I'm trying to find some more land, but I need lots of money. Thank you.
My name is Benny Moore. I farm up in Lancaster off the 138 between the 5 and the 14. I started off with a couple hundred acres up there. Well, let me start in Oregon. I had a ranch in Oregon, right outside of Klamath Falls. And farming up there is quite different. You're kind of pretty remote. The market's here in Southern California, 40 million people. So there is a lot of opportunity here if you can farm and get something done. Right now I had a couple hundred acres. Now I'm down to about 55 acres. I always wanted to be a farmer, and I started off being a professional cowboy, traveled all around the country trying to make a living rodeoing. And I helped raise one of the first black cowboys, the world champion, Charlie Sampson, which he just gave a rodeo in Norco, California. And we gave a rodeo up there, and it was standing room only. They didn't have enough seats. So he's in town, and I was raised right in Los Angeles, and we used to have a stable on El Segundo and Figueroa in Los Angeles, when there were cows and orange trees, just like Santa Clarita and everywhere, back in the 60s and what have you. But I have 55 acres now, and the challenges of farming is astronomical right now, because the one thing, if you don't have, I hate to get into it, I should probably just introduce myself and do this later, but farming, especially in Southern California, you gotta have water. And there's adjudications going on in a lot of places right now. Antelope Valley is one. I think Kern County has went through an adjudication. And I've been going to meetings for like 10 years. And big challenge is going to be electric and water. Because if you add those in, it's like, it's almost, a lot of farmers, is it worth farming? Right now in Lancaster, there's not a whole lot of farming going on up there because the water is worth more than farming. And I'm speaking of raw water, which is the water that comes directly out of the ground. I don't know too many people that really know, you know. And then when they treat it, of course, it's a lot more. When it time it gets to your house around here, we're talking about treated water. It goes up anywhere between $700 for farmers, dollars per acre foot, which is 326,000 gallons of water. And maybe I should cut this off because I can go on all day. But I'm Benny Moore, and maybe I'll get back. And the challenge, because I'm in the courts right now with the water people up there, and as a black man, I ran into something accidentally. I didn't go looking for it. I have a pre-1914 historical water right. And I don't know if a lot of you guys know what that means, but certain people don't want you to have it. Because now you're a senior rights holder, which puts you in front of a lot of people. And if you were pre-1914, you didn't have to buy, you didn't have to get certain permits with the state board. But now they kind of ask you, well, you can report to us and let us know how much you use. It would be nice. But pre-1914, before all the other adjudications and everything start coming, and so California, everything is changing pretty fast as far as water. We know that is a forever need of everything. So water and air, watch out. There's a gang of guys that's going around collecting it all if they can. So it's just one thing I wanted to pass on to the farmers.
Good morning. My name is Antoinette Greenwood Jacobs. I say both names because my dad was an entrepreneur and my father-in-law was an entrepreneur. I'll start with the Jacobs, T.L. Jacobs. It just breaks my heart when you say you were retired because the funding wasn't there. Dad was second generation farmer. His father, they came from, I believe it was Texas. He was electrical, and he went to PG&E. His wife showed up, and they realized he was black, and he was fired. So he went into farming here in Bakersfield. And then his son, my father-in-law, T.L. Jacobs, was a farmer. And the farmers, to my understanding, were financed prior to their crop. And then they didn't. And they told Dad he was too old. And so he lost his farm. They owned 20 acres and they farmed about 2,500 acres. Alfalfa, watermelon, Milo corn, a lot. So he died having lost his farm, having to do little bits and pieces, but he was married to another entrepreneur here in town, Benny Ruth Jacobs, Powerhouse. So this couple, they are, we stand on the shoulders of these two here in Bakersfield. Many of you know of them. And then the other side of me, with Greenwood last name, just imagine Greenwood. You know the history of Greenwood. But also my dad was an electrical contractor from Texas to Merced. Met my mom. He had an electrical company here in Bakersfield to where he contracted out to the oil companies. So it wasn't residential. He was now on another turf, another level where as a black man he wasn't supposed to be. And he purchased, we lived 2 or 3 blocks down, so when you said McKinley, Emerson, that's my track. And we lived in a shack 2, 3 blocks down, 4th Street, 7 kids, same parents. Daddy had the audacity to buy 20 acres of land on Gosford in between Bear Mountain and Houghton. I guess they didn't know he was black. And so they refused to let him put a house on it, even though across the street, Grandma Amerson White, we called her Grandma Amerson, she became our advocate. And so that's how we ended up getting our double wide trailer on there, because we needed an older white lady to advocate for my family. And so with the 20 acres, Daddy is now doing his business quite well, electrical. So my husband and I, being that my husband was the son of a farmer, we actually had the nerve to try and grow alfalfa on the 20 acres, and we did. It was so freaking cool to see that beautiful green crop. We were paying, what did they call that? Something about the water. It'll come to me. But the water flowed in the canal behind the 20 acres. We had that beautiful crop. We were proud. Ron's dad was alive then. Dad was proud. Standby. We were paying for that and all that. And once they found out and saw our beautiful crop, well, guess what they did? Put the gates down. No more water. So much for that. Fast forward, my dad ended up losing his property. Huge depression. So Bakersfield's tightly held, but for these black men, black farmers to have survived that, we commend you and we say thank you. The stories are not good, and my dad had no one to go to as far as advocate. From looking for attorneys in LA to here in Bakersfield, you pretty much were on your own. So I just say hats off to you, and I'm just here just to tell this story.
Hi, my name is Karen Compton, representing Northeast Health Resource Center out of Sacramento. Just here for informational purposes in terms of the process of where we're at there. We're building community, and with that comes health and wellness, and the most intricate part of that is your food, dietary, different things of that nature. Although we do have growers associations and things like that, the community is quite small, and the information is very limited in terms of even if you Google it, you won't find it, because it's a community effort, and that means you have to be out in the community. And so I took that drive down here to kind of listen in and to see, because I do want to get into farming, but I need to know those first steps. My parents are from the South, so I used to go back to the South. Not often enough, because now as an adult, when I go back, when I'm driving through the property, I see stables and all of these remnants of farming. However, my generation is absent in doing so because we've moved into the city. And so I want to kind of revisit that. Even though it's way in Mississippi, I still need to know where to start in terms of information, because I'm not a city girl. I mean, I'm not a country girl in terms of just being in the elements. Even when I go, I get dressed in my suitcase because I'm afraid of rodents, you know. So I have a long way to go, but you know, the foundation of it is the planting and where to start, you know, to reap that harvest later.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize about being late. You know how Zoom goes, right? I was already emailing him this morning. My name is Arlena Waller. My family is a Frank family. I'm rooted here in Bakersfield. I feel like an octopus in this community because there's so many needs. And there's so many barriers that are not communicated across the spectrum. And I believe that my family, as well as my history, we find the need and we fight for it. And then when you get that solution, they change the rules and you're exited out by a system. Okay, this continually happens. And I want to applaud Dr. Evelyn for your efforts, because this is almost distinct. Black farmers, we're growing our food, but we're not getting the support. We're not getting the systems to help us do it. A lot of times we are the root of it, but when the harvest starts, the game changes. So we hope that can be changed, not only for us, but for anyone else who wants to be a part of it. And she talks about not being in the elements. My family grew up farming. My dad, my grandparents were farmers. My dad was a farmer. We had 10 acres out on Cottonwood Road. We had gardens in the back. My mother would garden in Ferragamos. She was a bougie farmer. So that's what I learned it from, you know. It's just who we are. And I don't think that that defines if you're bougie, if you can be a farmer. So you could be a farmer, honey. I plan on farming in Chanel. So it happens, but just really looking at where we need to be in terms of farming right now, we need to make it more, we need to undo the systems that are holding Black farmers back and bring our youth back to the roots. When we think about the food we serve, my sons have a business called Bentley Bowl, and that's soul food. A lot of that food comes from the ground. But the game has been changed, the narrative have been changed. So my hopes is that I take my parents' legacy, my grandparents' legacy as farmers, and kind of reinvent that wheel, kind of modernize it, if you will, because young people like things modern, you know, put a little rap song to some farming, you know, get them excited. Recently, our organization has been able to partner with the city of Bakersfield. Dr. Evelyn has been a great consultant for us. We know the story, watch your journey for the MLK Community Garden Initiative, and we hope that will revitalize a space for young people, revitalize a place to tell our story in ways that it does not get to be told. There's a lot to learn, you know, getting back into the dirt, you know, what does that look like? I don't know right now, but I know that it's possible with us working collaboratively together and also finding all the Black farmers that were shut out of this system, that property was taken, that they couldn't go unless they sold their property. This is not anything new, it's still happening today. We can help you, but we gotta own it. How do we change that narrative, not just in farming, but in everything that we do? That's what I'm hoping that I can bring to this space. Thank you, Dr. Evelyn, for inviting me. I wasn't gonna come because I'm exhausted with the system. I'm exhausted with Black people being the root of the work, and then when we get those dollars, it's changed to people of color, which is a high signal for no Black people are gonna get funded well. So I was exhausted, depleted, because I'm seeing it happen over and over and over and over again. But with the energy of this room and the people who are at the table, I think it's time to reinvigorate, get back into the fight, and just don't let what happened to your parents or my parents. We've seen the same thing where they come in and take your property by laws, by rules, that you didn't even know that they were changed. So that's kind of what I hope that I could bring to the table. That's a little bit of who I am. Like I said, I'm an octopus. I'm a system disruptor. I believe in changing systems. I don't believe in necessarily your rules as the rules, finding a way that we can change that collaboratively. I call myself a graceful fighter because I think it's important to gracefully fight. So that's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am Pastor Marisa with Compassion Christian Center, and I am just so thrilled to have you all in this room. I think that today we are making history. I couldn't sit here without weeping because the story is so familiar. And when I look around the room and I see the Jacobs and the McGills, these are the people that we knew, the Franks, right? And they're so proud because these were property owners and these were entrepreneurs and these were people who actually built and fed and produced for our communities. And my sadness is that I don't want to see it go to the grave. When I look at Mr. McGill, they're getting older, and if our young people don't catch it, it will be lost. When we were the ones who did it. I want to say thank you as publicly as well to Dr. Evelyn. You all know that we have Compassion Community Garden straight down the street on 4th Street, and it is just becoming a tremendous third space and blessing to this whole 2 square mile. And so I'm excited to see what can come about from this meeting, and as Mr. Patrick said, making farming cool again, because everybody's got to eat. Welcome this morning.
Good morning. I'm Jason Cater. I'm with the City of Bakersfield in the Economic and Community Development Department. And I was invited by Dr. Young today. She and I have worked together in community stuff for over 10 years, from her time at Cal State Bakersfield to her time now with the Kern County Black Farmers Association, as well as want to recognize Dr. Waller. We've been partners for 6 years now in community work. And I have the opportunity to work with these two wonderful women to be a part of the team that's going to help establish the MLK Community Garden Collaborative. And so on that note, I'm here just to hear the stories today and see where we as a city might be able to help on some of the challenges and help restore some of this history that's so important to this community. So I'm just here to listen and happy to talk to anyone who's here today and learn their story. So.
Good morning. My name is Samuel Cervantes. I work for a company called ICF. We're an administrator for a number of utilities, one of them SoCal Gas, another one Edison. We also just were granted a program with SoCal Ren, which is for smaller, hard-to-reach communities, farmers in the ag industry. And basically, our program just connects people with rebates that are available to them if they want to upgrade their equipment. We work with cannabis, we work with dairy farmers, we work with almonds, pretty much everything. The thing about these kind of programs is most people don't know about them, and our goal is just to make sure people are aware that it's a resource that's available to them. I actually saw Evelyn on TV this morning that I recorded yesterday. She did a great job with the interview, and I live just south from here in a small town called Fraser Park. And I said, my schedule's free. I need to go check this out. So great job with the interview, and I love being here and hearing. And if you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I do a lot of networking. I work with tribal nations. I work up and down the state of California. So if you need something, I probably know somebody that I could connect you with. So I try to know that, outreach, being connected with people, leveraging relationships is super important in any community. So let me know if there's anything I could help with. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Karina Funes, and I am a public policy manager for Blue Zones Project Bakersfield. One of the areas that we focus on are food systems, and we try to improve our local food system here in Bakersfield. I am very grateful to be here today because I get to listen in on some of the stories and some of the challenges that I didn't know about. But that's something that I can take back to my organization and to the Kern County Food Policy Council to see how we can try to advocate for some of these local policy and system changes that we really do need here to try to improve our local food systems. Thank you for all the work that you guys do and all the advocacy that you do in our community, and I hope to see how I can help out.
Hi everyone, I'm Yesenia Fernandez. I am Karina's second hand. I support all the policies changes that we do with Blue Zones Project, and I'm just so happy to be invited to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Haley Duvall. I'm a reporter with Kern Soul News. I'm here to listen to you guys and tell your stories. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Tessa. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that the Kern County Black Farmers Association is the lead applicant on a $2 million grant, collaborating with 14 diverse small farmers here to create a community food hub, because there does not exist a local food hub for small farmers. So we are coming together, leveraging our sizes, leveraging what we do to create a community food hub here. That means that we will be able to purchase land. Did you hear what I said? We will be able to purchase land, acreage. We will be able to create an aggregation and distribution center so that all of our small farmers can bring their harvests to one location, aggregate it there, and from there we will distribute it out. We will be able to sell it to hospitals and universities and school districts, etc. We will be able to buy refrigerated trucks so that we can go out and pick up the harvest from those farmers. and we will be able to build infrastructure on that site. We will find out in 2 weeks at the end of July how much we will be funded. I'm not going to say if, how much we will be funded. And this will change the game here in Kern County, in Bakersfield, okay? We are advocating, we are working, we are writing grants furiously, and I want to thank the city of Bakersfield. I want to thank my Blue Zones partners. I want to thank Mr. Arias from Frazier Park, and Mo, thank you for coming from Lancaster, all of you. All right, it's yours, Tessa, and let's hear about the draft recommendations and how we can provide input for that.
So if everyone could make sure to put their info down on the sign-in sheet. We are offering stipends for those who are in the room for your time and effort and knowledge that you're sharing. So just make sure that info is on there. Thank you. Okay, so yes, we have the slides up here. I'm gonna try to make this quick because I think really hearing from all of you is more important, but this is just gonna provide us context and grounding in what the task force, how the task force operates and how they've been working and what they have been up to. So here's the agenda. We just did number 1. Thank you for sharing your stories. I just wanna mention too that even just, I know you all were holding back a little bit, getting ready for the bigger discussion later, but just acknowledging that a lot of the barriers you already shared have been really key challenges that the task force has been talking about and hearing from other communities. So yeah, I'll give a quick overview of the task force. I'll review our priorities and share some info about the draft report, and then we'll have that discussion. So here are, I believe, 11 of the 13 members of the task force. You can see Doria and Nelson there in the back. The California Agricultural Land Equity Task Force was established in the Budget Act of 2022. And it essentially assigned this work to the Strategic Growth Council, the state agency, and allowed us to stand up this 13-member appointed body of folks who are working in agriculture, who are working with farmers to support them, and who all have a specific focus on land access. We have 3 tribal members on the task force who are from different tribal nations around the state. And all of the members really have this diverse set of information and perspectives and sort of angles on this issue. So their work together is to develop a report of recommendations. We have drafts here in this room on how to equitably increase access to agricultural land for food production and for traditional tribal agricultural uses. And so I'll get into kind of some definitions in a second, but their work together will kind of come to a close at the end of this year when they will submit their final report of recommendations to the governor and the state legislature. So that is the audience of the work that they're doing. So what is agricultural land equity? I think some of you already shared some aspects of the definition of what that means to all of you. These definitions you see on the slide are in the draft report. These are kind of subject to change. We're still sort of massaging them, and so please feel free to weigh in if you have kind of comments on what these definitions look like. But essentially, just to give you an idea of how the task force is approaching this work, they're really taking an expansive understanding of what agriculture means. So agricultural land equity is really the work of eliminating disparities in secure and affordable access to viable land, acknowledging a lot of the history that you all already shared. And then agriculture, again, a pretty expansive definition. So the knowledge and practice of cultivating plants, animals, and ecosystems for food, fiber, medicine, and other resources. And so I know a lot of times, and we've heard this from the tribal nations that we talk to a lot of times, you say agriculture and people may just think of large-scale row crops like we sort of see on the egg cartons or the milk containers and are like, okay, that's not me because I'm growing in my backyard or because I'm stewarding an ecosystem to harvest fiber to make a basket, but that's not what people call agriculture. So we just want to be really clear that we're actually kind of encompassing all of that in cultivating ecosystems, food, fiber. So how is the task force developing its recommendations? They're basically doing their work together in public meetings and then a bit offline as well in these types of spaces. They've been meeting since October 2023, and they've been meeting on a quarterly basis in different regions around the state. They will wrap up, like I mentioned, in December of this calendar year. They also have a series of subcommittees and working groups to really hone in on specific topics. And just noting that their next meeting will be in August 13th and 14th in Arcata in Humboldt County. Really tried to kind of get around the state to many different regions. And their final meeting will be on December 11th, where they will be really approving that final draft of the report. All of these meetings are both virtual and in person, and everyone's welcome to tune in, make a public comment, and they're recorded as well, so you can watch them retroactively. And then the other key component of the work together has been in community engagement. So really like what we're doing today. We had a survey that was open for about 5 months, I believe, all about folks' land access experiences. So we asked about challenges and resource needs related to accessing land. That survey was in English, Chinese, and Spanish, and we got about 200 respondents. We've had many guest speakers at all those meetings that I just mentioned, just to hear from different experts, different people who are in the field, experiencing these issues kind of firsthand. We've done many site visits and then engagement sessions like this one today. And then we have this tribal leader meeting invitation. So in the state context, the state often will do formal consultation. We're doing a version of that with this tribal leader meeting invitation. Essentially, we sent out an open invitation to all of the tribal nations in California and offered like a one-on-one meeting to ensure that they had a chance to weigh in. And then public comment, like I said, at any point you can tune into those meetings, provide a verbal public comment. You can also submit written public comment at any time. This flyer that we passed out, the half sheet, has all that info on there. And so if you actually want to get into the nitty-gritty of the report or you just want to share more in writing, you're welcome to email that over anytime. Okay, so really quickly, just having mentioned the Land Access Experiences Survey, I wanted to share this slide. It's a bit overwhelming, but if you just kind of blur your eyes, the green and the yellow, if you kind of combine those, this is a representation of the survey responses. And so the question was, what are the major challenges that you face? And so if you look on the first row, you can see cost of land. That was one of the multiple choice options. And if you combine the green and the yellow bars, you see that about, 80% of respondents rated that as significantly challenging. Not surprising, but it's just good to see in the data and in the respondents that we got. The next highest challenge was finding suitable land to buy or rent. So just the actual process of finding that land that would be suitable for the type of agriculture that someone wanted to do. And then accessing financial resources, also really high, almost up to 75%. Water availability and infrastructure, unsurprisingly up there, kind of in the middle range based on the respondents we got. And then there's a couple other. So I just wanted to give you kind of a sense of some of the barriers that we've already been talking about, and that might get your brain going. We also have a report that is online that really breaks the survey results down in more detail. So if you want to take a look, we can share that. And then the next question was, what are the resources that might help you overcome these challenges that you just rated? And so similarly, if you combine the yellow and green, we can call that significantly helpful. And folks mentioned financial support, so it's the direct inverse. It's too expensive. We want to see more financial support to buy or rent land. And then technical support and technical assistance have really been a big source of conversation for folks, and a lot of what we're hearing in some of these community engagement activities. Just like, again, how do we find land? How do we even get started? How do we navigate this crazy permitting process that changes every day as soon as we think that we figure it out? And so that's up there. Better leasing terms, that's also another huge part of it, given that a lot of, especially small-scale farmers, are tenants rather than owners of the land. So again, we can get into more detail on that later, but just wanted to give you a sense of it. Here's the timeline. I kind of already mentioned this. You can see we are right before that August meeting. The task force members are working on the draft in front of you to, again, iteratively improve it in August. On August 1st, there will be a new version of that draft. And that will go public on August 1st, and folks will be able to weigh in on that draft as well. We'll be discussing that draft in August, and then improving that draft as well before October. So it's really this iterative process until December. And then here are the 9 goals that are in the draft report. These also might change as the task force members to continue to work on the content. But just to give you a sense, I mean, there's a lot in this report. It's a thick document, and the task force members, both from their own personal perspectives and experiences, and then also from what they've heard in community, are really trying to address a wide range of challenges. So I will put this slide actually back up on the screen in a second, but I just want to wrap this up so that you kind of have a sense of how this conversation will be structured. Some of the questions that we typically ask in these sessions are around, your barriers, and then what are the solutions or resources that you need to address those barriers. And I know some of you already kind of mentioned some of those. We can get deeper. We're curious if, just after reading these 9 goals, you have any reflections on those, any input. And then we're always interested in hearing case studies. I think Nelson may have mentioned, or someone mentioned, that if there's a success story you want to share because you had a really great experience, finding land or accessing financial resources, or there's, some community story that really just made a huge impact, we want to hear about that too, because those are the types of things that the task force can think about supporting and replicating in this report. And then this is a recorded meeting. It's being live streamed. However, in our notes, we do just want to mention that we will not be, everything you share will remain anonymous, especially, I'm in a position at the state. I know some people feel different ways about that. So just to let you know, when we're publishing this, when we're digesting the insights from today and summarizing them and then sharing them back out with the rest of the task force members, we won't be attaching your name or personal information to any of that. So you can feel comfortable sharing. Yeah, Doria.
I just wanted to make sure, too, that when we start getting into discussion, that you know that Nelson and I, why did I call you Nathaniel earlier? I'm sorry. Nelson and I are working on section 4 of the recommendations specifically. That is our assigned thing. We can give recommendations and will give recommendations to all. And we're also bringing forward some recommendations around specifically urban agriculture. And so, some of the comments that were made today are things that we've been thinking about, and I just wanted to put that out there so you know where our explicit focus is, even though we will be commenting on the whole thing, just for the opportunity to help us craft section 4, or recommendation 4.
Yeah, and I think, Nelson, you might be working on a couple others, right?
So I wanted to name that, like Doria mentioned, we've been assembling ourselves into smaller working groups to focus on specific goals. And we had a timeline of today to submit those, and those will be incorporated into the next draft that's going to be due in August. There's been, so it's going to look different than what it looks now, so I want to let that be known. And one thing that, is important to me that I want us to kind of prompt our conversation today is around definitions, right? So we have a definition here. Let me see if I can find it on land equity. And, can be for, thank you, sorry about that. Can be for reflection. We can open it up for conversation when appropriate. But I thought it would be I think it's on, what is land equity? I want to say 5, at the bottom of 5. So the current definition is agricultural land equity is the process of eliminating disparities in secure and affordable access to viable land for the cultivation of food, fiber, medicine, and culturally valuable resources. Now it's shifted now to being everybody has something along these lines. I can't remember exactly, but everybody has access to land without these disparities, right? And I think it's important to shift the land, because it's like when we focus on a process, I feel like we end up getting stuck in this process and we're in a hamster wheel and like we never really achieve there. So when we're talking about definitions, words are powerful. I want to prompt our reflections and our answers in the storytelling and what we share today in what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it actually feel like to achieve equity? That way we have a basis and a goalpost to reach, and we know the work that needs to do and the steps that we need to take there. So just wanted to kind of name that, put that out there, and kind of prompt our reflections and our answers along, like what does that actually feel like to achieve this land equity?
Thank you for that, Nelson. I'm just going to go to the end here. Let's see. So, because I think we'll probably get into discussion and then, use the rest of the time, and I don't want to cut it short just to come back to this slide. So I just want to share this here again really quickly. Next steps after this conversation, I kind of just referenced it, but can we put the slide back up? It's not a huge deal, but I'm taking a lot of notes, as you might see. I'm on my computer. We're gonna consolidate and kind of synthesize everything that's shared here, again, anonymously. We'll draft a summary like we've done for the other sessions and share that with the rest of the task force members. It also becomes public because all of the materials that are shared with task force members are also made public because it's a public process. And so that will go online for other people and other technical assistance providers to learn from as well. And then the task force will basically decide what to do with that information. So like Doria mentioned, each task force member is focusing on a different section of the report, and there will be different insights that apply to all of those different sections. Then we'll meet in August again to really discuss all of the engagement. We're doing a lot of engagement this summer, so that'll be a big conversation about kind of where the overlapping insights are and what we're learning specifically from each community. And I already mentioned, the iterative process until December. So I did just want to encourage you all to take a look at the half sheet that you have. If you want to keep following this process, you can sign up for the e-list. We can also, make sure to share directly the next versions of the draft with Evelyn and with all of you now that we have your emails, so that you have the chance to just follow the process and weigh in as you wish. And then, like I mentioned, please feel free to email anytime, either my email or the one up here on the screen, with additional comments. And share widely. So with that, I really just want to open it up for conversation now, and Nelson and Doria know to jump in anytime, pivot the conversation, ask follow-up questions. This session is, just really for learning and for an open discussion. Perhaps we can start with your question, Nelson, and then also, anyone feel free to jump in and respond directly to any of these questions up on the screen as well.
Yeah. So the definition, words are powerful, right? Like what are we speaking into existence, and what exactly are we working towards achieving? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What does it look like to achieve agricultural land equity in California? And in our definition, again, I just want to name that it is going to look different, slightly different in the next draft. And it's shifted from a process to naming that everybody does have access, does have equitable access without discrimination, without these systemic barriers, without land theft, so it puts a spotlight on what's getting in the way. And then in doing so, it gives us a focus on our energy and our work, on what we need to eliminate so that we can get there. And then we can be in a world where we feel, smell, taste this land equity, and achieve our own sense of self-determination through our land ownership, empowerment, whatever that means to us, you know. So just opening that up, that's what's been kind of sitting with me in how we define the pathways to get into our end goals. If anybody's called to speak to that, of course, barriers, challenges are a part of that. Success stories are a part of that. I forgot the exact prompts that was on the screen, but just want to open that up if we need more time to reflect on that as well. Yeah.
Had you all considered some type of policing of that? And these communities are tightly held, and so they know who's buying, and it's controlled. So what type of things are you considering to do that in policing as far as the discrimination that's a huge part of it? Yeah.
And maybe I feel like we should sit closer together so we can pass my mic. So far the way that I see it is in the section on land access, I forget which recommendation that is, there is, it's our section. There is a suggestion that we should create what we're calling a land observatory, which is a mandatory place where agricultural land must be listed. And that sales have to be public. That's the current, that's what's in the current recommendation, is that we're making those sales public. There isn't a policing arm or a suggestion, so if there is a suggestion or a recommendation here to add some kind of enforcement element to that, that would be good to hear. I also, while I have the mic, want to bring up a couple other things just to people's attention. There was mentioned the issues around water. In the recommendation number 6, there's a whole section on water, specifically speaking to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and adding some exceptions to that act for underserved farmers, for disadvantaged farmers, so that people can get access to water. If you want to look at that, it's on page 23, the specific recommendations around water. And just give us your feedback. How does that sound? How's it landing? Are there things missing to it? Are we missing something? And then there's a section that isn't in here yet that hopefully will be in the August version around that includes urban agriculture. And one of those things is to make available on a statewide level examples of ordinances and adjustments to general plans that allow for urban agriculture using existing examples. So that if you are in an area that does not have that in your zoning yet, that it makes it illegal, you can look at examples and bring those forward to your city government, to your county government, to make those amendments so that it's easy for you to, and they can also talk to other jurisdictions that have done that and know that, nothing has, gone crazy, like when nobody has died, but they can get that example of code and use it. So I would love to hear feedback on those different ideas, and then also, would you make a recommendation that we should add some kind of a policing or enforcement element? I'm gonna hand it back to you if you wanna. You're good, okay. Anybody else? I have a question. Yeah.
So I noticed that there's a lot of focus on Native Americans. And while I understand the history, when we look at Black Americans' history, why is there not a specific focus on that potential demographics? I have some notes I want to share because I think that's a critical place. If we want to talk about equitable farming, we have to be real. When we talk about who brought advanced farming techniques and crop knowledge, it was enslaved Africans. The post-emancipation era, Black farmers built land ownership movements despite system barriers. By 1920, Black farmers owned more than 14 million acres of land. Despite the USDA discriminatory practice, loan denials, delayed payments, they were still able to farm. Land theft and forced sales through violence, legal loopholes, lack of access to legal support, Black farmers suffered loss of land at a staggering rate. By 1997, Black farmers owned 2.5 million acres of land from that 14 million acres of land. When we think about community and cooperative innovation, it was Black farmers. Rural school churches, credit unions near Black farmers, it was Black farmers. When we think about Black farmers helping to shape Southern and soul food tradition, growing stale crops like collards and sweet potatoes, okra, and black-eyed peas, I think we're missing, when we talk about equitable farming, if we don't have a space for African-American farmers, we're really not trying to be equitable in farming. I don't know if it's the process that Native Americans have more land, why government tends to partner with them. But I think that's, if we really want to be truthful in our equitable farming, we can't deny this space if we're really going to be equitable. And I would like to understand why that's not a focus at this time. Thank you.
My response to that, because I have been pushing for this as well, and I think there needs to be more, and the indigenous experience and land theft has been definitely dominating, as you noted. We are operating within the context specific to California, and I just want to focus on like the history, and I feel like that's the main reason why, but there's still a lot of Black farm history in California specifically that needs to be uplifted and highlighted as well. And so I appreciate the nudge and us incorporating more of that into the recommendations, because it is dominating, not to like undermine the focus on indigenous sovereignty here, but both need to have a focus as well.
I keep kind of like. So I want to say that somebody said earlier, when we do POC, we lose Black, and I agree. I think that happens quite often. We check the POC box and we don't realize that we've caught a lot of people, which is good for them, but we've not caught Black folks. I think that there's room in here to have an explicit recommendation that says something like, I'm not going to wordsmith it right here, that specifically points out this phenomena, right? That when we try to do a catch-all of BIPOC or POC, that we often actually don't support equity within the Black community and in helping Black folks. It's not about the percentage, though. It's about equity. And equity is not equality, right? I think that I do want to underscore one other thing, is that the task force was formed from a bill, from AB 179. And in that bill, it explicitly calls for the task force to bring forward recommendations to the governor and the legislature about equitable increase of access for food production and traditional tribal agricultural uses. So it actually declares in the bill that we must focus on both. And I'm not saying that I disagree with that, but I just want to point that out, that that's the directive of the task force when it's formed. And so I want to point that out, but it does not in any way prohibit us today from making explicit recommendations that are specific to Black farmers. And that's what, I feel like that's our job. That's what we should do. What are those words? How do we pull that out? What are the things that make sure that we're not left behind? That's our job. That's what we need to make sure we get in here. Yeah, that's what I would say.
And here's why I want to say that's critically important. If it wasn't for someone from the city coming and seeing our work that we were doing on ground, because a lot of time Black organizations are super underfunded, right? And saying, listen, I know how to help you make that happen. We would have never did our first grant with the city and our second grant with the city, same with the state and federal. Had not someone say, I see you, let me show you how to do it. That's where that tech support is critically important. So it has to be a handheld situation. Same way it is for immigrants and all the other populations that they're so specifically naming. Success story. Had not Cecilia worked with me from the city, I wouldn't have known what was possible. I would have never tried to do business with the city because it's out of my reach, right? But because we had 8 months of tech support, 8 months of a team helping us write our first grant, got to the last month of the grant, here comes some experts wanted to re-navigate that language for POC, which would have excluded our organization. And there was one consultant at the table said, absolutely not. We're not gonna change that. I wouldn't have been able to not have that change, right? So we were able to successfully complete a grant with CARB. And now I'm speaking with CARB and traveling with CARB, teaching people how to do business with small organizations. But that's from someone inside saying, we have to be very specific and we have to narrow our focus. Now a success story. Now with TCC, almost $1 million to do a grant. And again, that's not because I'm a farmer or know exactly what I'm doing. That's because the city said, let me find you a partner to help you complete this. Found as a consultant, brought to the table. That's how cellular this process has to be in order for equitable farming. So it can be a success story if we can do it right.
So if I was to translate that into a recommendation, it would be something like encourage cities, counties, government agencies to explicitly seek out under-recognized, underserved Black organizations to provide technical support to lift up their activities in agriculture. Is that the recommendation? Something like that. So I think Tess is grabbing it. And then I do want to, if somebody has the words, to capture this thing that we're talking about, how unfortunately this POC, BIPOC, you often lose the B and get the rest, right? And so how do we call that out, you know? And I would invite us to step into our strength, you know, in that, yes, Black folks have brought so much to this nation, so much to agriculture, so much to all these things. We do not and should not need to push down anybody else to stand up and be recognized, right? So how do we assert that clearly here so that we're not left?
Telling a real history.
But, all? What do you mean?
All growers, all who are interested, all in need. Why does it always have to have color associated with it?
I think that people put the color with it because when you say all, then you don't necessarily get all.
Well, I think you put the color to it because that's what we've been conditioned. But if I was looking to farm farmers, if I wanted to be equitable, and if I was truly looking to fund farmers, my intellect tells me I would put out a call to farmers in need. My conditioning would say to farmers in need who are Black, to farmers in need who are Hispanic. We need to grow up and stop all of that. It's all. And then as it comes, then we can handle it. But you already have the roadblock with the ethnicity. What happened to all? All in need, all who are interested. I'm raising millennials, they're not interested in all of that. They don't want the labels, and that's who we're targeting now. We're getting old. I'm not gonna be out in no field. We're getting seasoned. I'm 63 years old, and so I don't have that in me anymore. So who are we talking to? Know your audience. They ain't interested in being called a name. Just open it up. Don't be afraid of it. The process can weed. You know, if you make $5 million, you ain't in need.
That was going to be my follow-up question. So then is there utility in defining in need? And maybe there's a different definition for that. I'm curious if you have thoughts on that.
USDA defines a small farmer as 500 acres or less. So why can't we put a dollar cap? The USDA defines a small farmer as 500 acres or less. And so why can't we put those kinds of defining numbers instead of the color, if that's what our new upcoming young aspiring farmers don't want to be labeled as? So put a number to a metric as opposed to an ethnicity. I will think about it and get back to you. Well, for some reason, I don't know if 5 keeps coming up, and I need to ask my colleagues at the Farm Service Agency some questions. But $5 million a year or something, a couple of $1 million a year, I think has been some kind of metric. But I'm unclear on what that is, so I'll get back to you on that.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Arlene alerted to it. We're dealing with a system that is created to stop black people and people of color from getting things. And although we may want a new language that's associated with it, you end up being cut out when you're not specific, when you're not direct, when anyone dealing with contractors and things of that sort, even when they have the big contractor that put into the contract that you have to work with small businesses or minority-owned businesses, they will go get a white woman to be the minority owner, and then they still get the big contract. So and so what happens is that it's a, No, the only reason why I state that is that it's a political game. And so when you say when we put ourselves in a position to say we don't want to play the political game anymore, they know that the game is over because now they can completely control whatever is put out there. So they have lawyers and people that look for loopholes that can undercut it. So every time if the younger generation go, well, we don't want to have these labels, then they come back and they have this complaint and say, why are we always being shut out? They're going to go around that revolving door of saying, why are we being shut out? Why are we being cut out? Why are we not being a part of this process? Well, because the language says, legally, we can cut you out. We legally can cut you out because now we're saying all, and we're not pinpointing it to anyone very direct and targeting. And so now they're able to use that language to their advantage and put in, they're getting all the funding, and then, okay, you're gonna get a little bit, we'll slide a couple of y'all a little bit, you'll hit the mark. And that's why in the bills, and even in this bill where we're talking about they targeting indigenous, that's why all of this is being written that way, because they created something that says, we're gonna talk to these individual people and do something for them. The migrant program that's happening in schools, they have all of these contracts that are happening. The funding has to be spent towards them, and there's no loophole that anyone can do about it. And so when we go away from that, we're setting that next generation up for failure, because now they're gonna not have access to those things, because as good as we want to think that people are good, there's evil people that want to control and take advantage of all of the funding. And so that's just, as a political play of how people operate, that's something very important to keep in mind.
So there are a couple important details to mention that come in when we're thinking about the legal aspect of distributing resources from the state and from local governments. Prop 209 is something that prohibits state and local government from basically contracting on the basis of race. Sorry? So let's talk about that. And so I just wanted to make the note about Native Americans that doesn't apply to them because it's a government to government relationship. There's a sovereignty in tribal nations. And then also when you're talking about a migrant program, that's not a race-based category, right? And so, yeah, let's talk about other things to consider. And I know I'm not super familiar with the reparations task force work, but I know that they thought a lot about this. And so there's a lot in there that could be pulled from as well. So just...
Yes, American descendants of enslaved people. Okay. I would encourage everyone here to read the work of Dr. Michael Eisinger, E-I-S-S-I-N-G-E-R. He is a professor at University of Merced and has done Eisinger, E-I-S-S-I-N-G-E-R, has done extensive writing on Central Valley and Black agriculture in the Central Valley. And this is one of his, I just want to read a quick abstract of his work, Kern County, California's Deep South. Okay. Hello. All right, so Dr. Eisinger says, sometimes the best way to understand a place as diverse as California is to examine big picture topics such as major historical figures and movements. However, much can be learned by studying localized topics. One example is Kern County, at the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley. As early as 1884, large-scale agricultural concerns owned by men who had come to the area from the American South recruited African Americans for field work, especially in the newly developed cotton culture of Central California. Recreating the plantation climate of the South established a long-standing tradition of racism and exclusion, which in many ways continues today throughout the region. Using archival material, interviews, and other primary sources, this paper, Kern County, California Deep South, examines the history of Kern County's exclusionary past, including issues of agricultural labor through the first half of the 20th century, sundown policies and restrictive covenants, the KKK, racial violence, and other forms of overt, systemic, and ongoing racism as a case study. Okay. Kern County, California's Deep South.
So it sounds to me, and I'm just checking to see if I'm hearing this right, that we may need to consider adding a recommendation around making sure that people understand the history in California around inequity, racism, other things, and how it impacted agriculture and farmers. Because right, how do we solve the access issues if we don't understand the history?
One question that I had that was kind of touched on by someone, I was wondering what legal and technical support can be offered to help Black families and farmers resolve land titles, heirship problems, and inheritance challenges to prevent long-term land retention, to prevent long-term land retention. Excuse me.
One of the current recommendations, I forget which number it is, maybe Tessa, you remember, is to actually make available technical assistance as specific legal assistance for land ownership, land access issues. So, if you're purchasing, there's a whole realm of issues you have to navigate, but also if you're trying to navigate titles and things like that. So the recommendation is that the state provide technical assistance through technical assistance partners, legal technical assistance around land access. I don't know if you think that's acceptable or if you have a better solution, but that's the current.
That's the current solution.
Well, it's the current it doesn't exist now, right? That doesn't exist now. So if you're trying to purchase something, you're on your own. You have to figure out, you have to find CAF or you have to find somebody else who's gonna lend you a hand. There's no state agency, organization effort to support people in this. And so our recommendation is to create such an effort, either internal to the state or something that we would, grant out those technical assistance funds to different providers. But it would be explicitly like legal assistance to navigate land ownership issues.
I think it's an excellent idea. One of the best ideas that came up today, because I'm in the process of a piece of property. If you get a piece of property, he said to be able to keep it and carry it on and what have you. I have a piece of property that's under a land patent. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the land patent. Years ago, I hired just here recently, I hired a lawyer right here in Bakersfield, and we were going over papers that I found that the property had a land patent on it. The biggest landowner in the United States is, of course, the federal government. The second biggest landowner, Union Pacific Railroad, the railroad. The country didn't have any money during Abraham Lincoln time, so they wanted get the railroad out here so they could capture the land. So that's how the railroad became the second biggest landowner, because this country didn't have any money. So they paid them with land. They're also the biggest oil exporters in the United States. So if you wonder where our oil is going, that's where it's going, which was owned by Warren Buffett. I'm kind of jumping to hurry up and get to say this, but we need some representation for people, because a lot of people have land that they have it and they don't even know they own it, or what the process of having it in the family forever. I have a set of papers, and I have them right here in the car, that clearly states that the settlers that came, a lot of them that came earlier, they owned the land, and the President of the United States signed the paper that says forever. Yeah, if anybody wants to see those papers, I can go out there and get them, because you'll never probably see another set. The attorney here in Bakersfield, when I sit down at the table with him, we're going over the papers, and he literally set the papers down and looked at me and says, well, the people you got this from, how do you know they meant for you to have this? So I'm just saying that we need the state to come and help the people with their land and make sure that they can keep the land and it's theirs. So I'm just kind of saying that, and it's very important. I'm paying lawyers right now, and it's a loss, because even a lot of lawyers and judges never heard of a land patent. That means you own that land. That's your land. You can give it to your heirs, your assignees, and it's forever. And that's what I'm fighting right now in Antelope Valley because of the water situation. The land patent, there's a bundle of rights that comes with property. It's called a fee simple absolute deed. That stems from a land patent. I was just in court last month, and the judge told me for the water, the judge told me, says, you're no country. In order to get a land patent, you got to be like the railroad, or you got to be a country. Otherwise, your deed stems off from a land patent. And did you get the right to use that land patent rights? So this is how we're kind of, as black people and other people that are kind of bound by certain things. The government act of Congress said If you have a fee simple absolute deed, the only thing you're obligated to the state for is taxes, eminent domain, and water use for good reasons. You can't just use it and let it run down the street. So, I mean, I could go on, but I like her idea about we do need some help to, if we get land, be able to keep it and have some lawyer or somebody that could help us. Biden did, I think, put a certain amount of money aside for people in the South, because so many people down there have property from eras and they were just given and they don't have the deeds on it. And we're facing the same thing out here, but a lot of people they haven't heard of it before, and we don't have the support out here. So I'd like to hand this.
Specification to, I think it's number 4, in number 4, that explicitly says that it's technical assistance not only for acquisition, but for ongoing ownership.
So what you were describing and what someone had already mentioned is legal assistance for resolving resolving basically your ownership of the land and the rights that you have on that land and enforcing that.
So with the technical assistance, what is the process to get that to the need? And here's why I ask. I have witnessed where that's in place, right? But it goes to the same group of people, right? And then those resources are gone. So those who really need it, or may not even know it's there, do not get the access to the technical assistance. So yes, to have it is wonderful, but what is the process to ensure that that's equitable? And technically that goes to the city, right? Technical assistant, or the county, right? Which should work together, city and county need to work together. But let's say it goes to the city and county. I've witnessed firsthand how they just, they got a lot going on, right? They just need to get this money out so they can get more. So they don't always get it to the right person. I think there needs to be a grassroots advisory council from that community who knows that community, who advises and approves who the city or the county give that technical assistance to, so the same groups don't continually get all the funding. That would be my recommendation, because there's a big trust gap with the city and county already, because they be bull. Oh, I'm in church. They be doing stuff, right? So how do we eliminate that? By having the on-ground partners advise them and approve where that money goes. That would be my recommendation, how to make it as equitable as possible.
So just another thing, we don't have to even have the assumption. These are recommendations, right? They could be anything. Well, not anything, but on topic, things. So we don't have to assume that technical assistance would go only to cities and counties, right? We could describe another system that technical assistance is dispersed and kind of there's another word that I'm looking for, dispatched. It could be that nonprofit organizations or other kind of supporting organizations could apply for that technical assistance and bring it to a community. It doesn't have, because right now it just says literally establish and fund a department to provide technical assistance for equitable land access. It could say something else if we felt that was going to be more effective, because what we want to do is be effective.
I think that's great, but one of the things I do love in terms of the city and county, they have so many layers of funding that you can continue your work. we're going to continue partner because they know where those pockets of funds are. A small nonprofit like myself, if I was technical assistant, I would know where the next gap of funding is. And it's also critically important that the city and the county truly become partners with the on-ground grassroots organizations that are actually doing the work. I'm not saying that they're the only one that should have it. You know, I think an organization like Evelyn, who's really on the ground trying to find all the farmers, would be a great source, right? But I do think that having them in part of that process is important because they have to change their processes. They need to change their systems. And there's a lot of people working in the city who don't like the city and the county systems because it locks them in. So in order for you to get this funding, you have to change some of your structure and some of your systems, period, across the board. So I think even if that was to go to a nonprofit, I think the city and county should be involved because they got to get a new lens. They got to look at this work through a new lens.
We have about 10 more minutes left, unfortunately. Went really fast. So I just want to make sure everyone feels like they've had the chance to bring up the most important issues to them, whether that's a challenge that you don't have a solution for, whether that's a solution or resource needs. So.
Will there be an opportunity to perhaps express some questions or systems or suggestions after this meeting?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. Yeah, and so you all are welcome to follow up with the three of us at any time. You can also join any of the quarterly meetings that are public. You can make a verbal comment in those. You can also email with more extensive comments at any point. Any other questions or comments?
Sorry, I was distracted.
Hi, I'm Ravel Nichols. I live up in Keene, but I started a homestead about 10 years ago, and we've successfully grown everything from grapes to just whatever you put on your table. But I was just curious to hear what the process is for people acquiring land, because it's interesting because my mom called me yesterday saying, they're having this meeting, so you got to go. So, but I met an older gentleman, and he's African-American, he and his wife, and they live in Stockton, and so they are going through the challenges of land acquisition and where to be, but they want to stay more northern than down here. So I just wanted to attend and maybe be able to pass on some information to them. So, but my focus, my background is clinical psych, but as I've observed, many people's ills and tribulations is mostly related to diet. And so one of the things that I've often tried to emphasize is how to help people grow their own food in a sustainable manner. So that's my main focus, my interest, and I'll try to participate as much as possible. And if I have something valuable to add, I'll try to do so.
I just wanted to I like to pull things out of the recommendations to make sure people know they're there and kind of like make sure just to see what you think about them. So in terms of acquiring land, there are specific recommendations in here to different strategies that are being proposed to allow people to access land. Some of them have to do with state lands, identifying state lands that would be appropriate for agriculture and making them available to farmers. That's been here. Also adding to the 30-30 goal, agricultural lands, not just conservation lands. People know there's a goal of conserving 30% of California lands as a governor's goal, but it doesn't currently include agricultural lands. Also in here is to create kind of a land bank of prime agricultural land so that the state would actively go out and purchase what is deemed by the soil quality prime agricultural land, so that land doesn't get transferred into developed land, into housing, so that we can preserve that land. It's really rare soils, right? There's in here a proposal to create funding programs, grant programs, not just loan programs, to help people buy land, underserved farmers, tribal nations. I feel like I'm missing anything else. I think that that's the main ones. And so those are great, but again, the devil's in the details. If you have recommendations on how to make them better so that they actually get to the people, they don't go to the same people, they don't whatever, those are the kinds of fine tuning that we're looking for, suggestions, feedback, because we have these kind of blanket statements now that could use insights, experience to help guide them so that we're not falling into the same traps, right?
In terms of the Brownfields program? Well, I think there's a few things we're working on. I think, as mentioned, actually through your counterparts at TCC, we're working on a city-owned lot to create a community garden with Dr. Young and Dr. Waller. Yeah, we are doing, I mean, one thing we probably could look in the recommendations, I know there's a lot of work out there around brownfields, old car wash stations, old laundry mats, things that are in communities that are infill lots that probably have soil contamination, but opportunities for community urban ag spaces, I think, could be part of those recommendations. We have some money with the EPA where we're looking at brownfield assessments as well. So I think that's something that could be a part of this. And I do, to the comment earlier, I want to echo the technical assistance piece for cities. I work in economic community development, so we don't write a lot of the policy, but we try to encourage things to shift. And we had quite without saying for our own process, quite a process to get this community garden through our entitlement, and then things shifted in our code and we had to act to keep it. So I think anything you can do to provide technical assistance to cities on the benefits. I'll say as someone even on the inside, we were jumping to make sure that we kept our entitlement process alive for this project. So I think anything you can do to help on that would be really echoed. Yeah. To cities, because I think a lot of cities, yeah, they have zones that, and the HOP thing has come to my attention from Dr. Young to support small farmers. Some cities, their residential zones or their small commercial zones don't really have like streamlined permitting processes for community gardens in place, so they may not allow it. Yeah, cities around the state that have example codes, that have effective policies, and have good case studies to show cities that are on the fence to make changes that this is effective and here's the benefit. And
that's one of the things that we were just talking about bringing up is to bring forward a process. In my city, that 15 years ago, we established urban agriculture ordinance to speak directly to these things, and then went back and made amendments to the general plan to relieve some of the permit burden.
Yes.
Yes. Trying to start a garden, because you think one is accessing land, and then you have this whole like avalanche of permits that follow.
Yep. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even shifting permits to different types of permits that are cheaper or easier to get or just administrative or whatever
Right.
makes life a whole lot harder, or making the barrier when you need that permit like lower or
Right.
higher, what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I know even like with ADUs, I mean, I don't know if this is like that policy, but like accessory dwelling units now, a lot of cities have pre-approved plans so that they can even cut the cost of engineering and planning so you can get an ADU through the process. So even things of that nature where there's pre-approved or pre-developed community garden plans that people can save the cost of paying an engineer and a site plan. Yeah. Thoughts? Because we're dealing with this right now, yes, with our partners. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good opportunities. Jason, I know you've mentioned urban agriculture ordinances to Blue Zones Project. It was a while ago too, but I think that's something locally here that we can try to revisit and get assistance with. We're able to tap into technical assistance at a national level with some people who do food system technical assistance. So we can tap into what that might look like and how we can change that here locally, here in Bakersfield. But that's one of the ideas that I'm just like, I know that's something at least Blue Zones Project can try to help out with. But hearing some of these stories and hearing how some of the local challenges really affects the way that our food system works. I think it's really important for us to hear, but also something that we can try to pass along to our local Kern Food Policy Council. Our Food Policy Council just started about a year ago, and so we're still on our very early stages, but I think it's important for us to kind of communicate some of the things that we're hearing too, so that we can also advocate on behalf of the stories that we're hearing.
I had a kind of clarifying question on the topic of the permitting and the technical assistance, like specifically. And I'm hearing in the room that there's a lot of like recommendations particular to like the local level in the county and in the city, which makes a lot of sense because that's where people are going to be more directly engaging with elected officials that can respond, more than the state can, at least in my experience. Since this is like a state level recommendations, what does that technical assistance look like in your example of like what went on in Richmond in the city, and like is the technical assistance going to be helpful for the city officials, the elected officials to understand what these are? Does it look like funding to support that? Do we also need technical assistance for the general public to understand these laws? Those are things that come to mind for me, or is it all those things? What comes to mind and what would be actually effective in, we put in a recommendation, like what recommendation would be to direct the state resources and funding to cities and counties? I'm just thinking about like how do we like put that into like a tangible recommendation? And I think your experience was a good example of that.
Is to have the state offer to local jurisdictions a kind of library of code, zoning, amendments to general plan examples with the specific locations, maybe even contact information if people wanted to get in contact with those jurisdictions that these codes are coming from, so they can understand the experience and so they can just copy, paste, adopt code, So you have to generate it all because there's been a lot of thinking that goes into each one of those codes. You want to maybe change it for your jurisdiction so it makes sense. But having that code available would be one step, but then I'd like to hear from you, like what else from there?
Yeah, I think the copy paste where you can see how the city of Richmond, what they adopted in their ordinance, like how the residential zones were modified or commercial zones, or I think that piece being available in a library would be helpful. And as you mentioned too, just even if as much as like the resolution that they adopted to certify the code, those kinds of things are just helpful to streamline the process. For city side, I also think for community side, it pierces, and as a city government official, but it kind of pierces the veil of, why doesn't my community allow this? And allows you to have that conversation to say, this city is able to do it, and let's connect with them and see how it's working. I think that also helps with educating communities on how it is working other places. Sometimes government works slow, and I think sometimes seeing it, just for lack of a better term, and sometimes I think seeing where other places it's worked helps to kind of get people on board. And so I would say, yeah, policy recommendations, like literally seeing copy and paste, cities where it's worked, the steps they took, and then even like the parameters of their program, because I do know like for some of the conversations we've had, like, with small commercial zones, sometimes you might see infill lots that could be really effective for urban agriculture, but there's conversations in some cities about the larger commercial spaces being used for ag uses versus office. So just seeing other cities navigate those issues would be, I think, important for the conversation.
We're going to have to wrap up. Do you want to say anything before we do that? Do you want to share any final words or? Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and coming together. And I am so humbled and honored that you are able to firsthand see who we are in Bakersfield and who we are in Kern County. and how we come together, as a community to address a problem and not just talk about, the history, which is critical, but also to put forth solutions. So thank you for asking to hear our voices and for allowing us to pull this together. Pastor Marissa, again, thank you so much. To Tony, to James McGill, to Mo, to Terrence, all of you who have shared painful family stories. We are here to heal the wounds of the past, not to forget them, okay, but to give you safe space to talk about it. There are some families who are not here because it was just too painful. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to, approach the memories of it. And so I want to thank you, for being here and allowing those emotions to well up, to spring up, because those tears are going to water, okay, what we do next in agriculture here, how we reclaim our agricultural history, how we reframe it, how we rename it, and how we make ag cool again, okay? How we make farming a dignified path to prosperity for Black folks, okay? And how we learn to love the land again. That is why the Kern County Black Farmers Association exists, okay? And I'm just thankful to be able to be a steward and a trusted messenger for this community. We only grow from here. Arlena, Dr. Waller, thank you for coming and for sharing your story and for keeping it real, as you always do. I love you, sister. It's an honor to work with you. Honor to work with you. Jason, my friend from CSUB days, Bakersfield, all of that. Thank you for being in the position that you are and for caring enough about us to do what you're doing. Absolutely. No, that deserves more. Thank you. Because we dealt with the city before you arrived, okay? And it's a whole different ballgame. To my colleagues, yes. It's still challenging, yes. But he's got challenges he's trying to overcome with the city. And so, yeah, we need the blueprints, the roadmaps. Tell us how to, do successfully, to mimic what's been done before successfully elsewhere. Blue Zones, my colleagues, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. All right, last thing I want to say. Catherine Sutton Jordan, who was here, Grandma Whipple, was talking about the upcoming 2-acre children's garden. I want you to know that that's going to be on the property of Jerusalem Mission Church, all right? On what used to be Cottonwood Road, but South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So we are working with local churches and local pastors who have acreage and unused spaces. We're also talking with Pastor Anthony at St. Peter's, okay, about the 1.5 acres he has. He's interested in an agrivoltaic project there. Also, we have Pastor Hosey of Grace Community Church. He's on Martin Luther King Boulevard, but he has 2 acres out in the Southwest. So far we've got about 5 or 6 acres that are available to us from churches, okay? From churches. And so finding new partnerships, creating new pathways and networks, because baby, agriculture is cool, as hot as it is in Bakersfield. I'm walking in my purpose, on a destiny level here. It's not just about my backyard, it's about our yard, okay? Thank you so much for being here. This is the first of many opportunities to keep it real, to talk about our barriers, and also the opportunities and solutions. Thank you so much. You want to have a final word?
Only to say thank you so much. That's a beautiful way to close out. We really, really appreciate you all for hosting us here in Bakersfield. And please be in touch. Please, reach out. I have my cards here. You have all the different ways to get in touch. We commit to following up with you all. We don't just want to come here and then you'll never hear it from us again. We will at very least send you the iterative drafts and the final draft. And next year will be a whole nother question about distributing that draft and going all over the state again. So we hope to see you then. And yeah, just please be in touch. Nelson or Doria, do you want to say any final words? No pressure. I think Evelyn, yeah. Thank you, Evelyn.